So, Phil, Andrew Johns has accused you of sabotaging the Newcastle Knights season. What do you say to that?
I don't think that's accurate. I've spoken to Andrew, and Andrew's given me his frank and fearless comments, which I've taken on board. If you look at our season this year, we've only won 6 of 12 games at home.
Did the players have any role in Nathan being moved on?
None at all.
Were the players canvassed by anybody at the club in the lead up to Nathan's departure?
To my knowledge, no. Certainly after Nathan's decided to go, we discussed what we were going to do with the playing group. The players actually knew before me that Nathan was going to resign. We felt that the players would live for it. We thought they'd lift and run through that series because he'd resigned, and we'd end up in a good position at the end of the year. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
The timeline just doesn't match up, plain and simple.
Well, the truth's very simple. Nathan came in and resigned. What do you do? People in Australia resign every day. Doesn't matter where you are. People in your organisation will be resigning today. They're resigning everywhere. What you need to do is you need to spring to action.
So, Phil, if nobody had spoken to Adam O'Brien and nobody had sounded out his agent, why was he immediately identified as the favourite candidate? And as I say, why were other figures in the game already aware that the process was in motion?
Well, I can only thank the Telegraph for that. We've had an enormous amount of coach change. We've had the Bennett-Seibold issue. We had Craig Bellamy's issue where he was going, staying and all the rest of it. The Telegraph's identified every possible opportunity and every possible combination of coaches that are out there, and that is part of the conversation of rugby league. So for us, it was very easy for us to identify who the coaches were out there.
But you're adamant, as the boss of the Newcastle Knights, you didn't give a directive to Troy Pizzette to go out and begin sounding out replacements for Nathan Brown 2 months ago.
Absolutely not. That's completely contrary to my relationship with Nathan. If you talk to Nathan, Nathan and I have a fantastic relationship and still do. I spoke to Nathan yesterday. We sat down at length and discussed what we should be doing going forward. Matty Johns has said, we need a Tim Sheens style. BC and I rang and spoke to Tim Sheens yesterday. He's still on hold KR. He's got some contractual obligations. He's happy to talk to us once that's resolved.
So just to be clear, Phil, Danny Badiris and John Quayle haven't walked away because, in Andrew Johns' words, the Knights management sabotaged their season.
Absolutely not. When I spoke to both John and Danny, the night of Nathan's resignation, we discussed where this should sit. Their view clearly was the transitionary nature of this committee needed to come to an end. Danny particularly didn't have the time. He's also very close to Nathan, as you know, and so there was an issue with that. It was the decision for the West Board, as all rugby league clubs have in the NRL. The board of those clubs are making the decisions around head coach. We played on Saturday at 3 o'clock, which is the worst time for us. We had 73 millimetres of rain, rained all day Friday. We had no walk-ups. That's the reality of it. If there was going to be some really major impact to the crowd, we would have got a lot of social media. We had less than 50 people on social media saying they weren't going to come, weren't going to buy tickets. One of the big changes that we need to be aware of is that Fox do a great job now. The actual coverage is fantastic. All our clubs were absolutely packed on Saturday. I'd be very interested, James, if you know, what were the Fox ratings for that Titans game compared to the last couple of Titans games?
Interesting comment. There are a few in there. What do you take out of that interview?
Fact is, Trent Robinson, the Roosters coach, called in Adam O'Brien weeks back to get a clear answer and clear gauge on whether they sack Adam O'Brien immediately or whether they believed he could continue to doing the job at the Roosters. At that point, Phil Gardner, in that interview, has insisted that there's still been no approach to Adam O'Brien. So what, is this just hysterical paranoia from the Roosters?
So Adam O'Brien admitted to Trent Robertson then that
of course he did. Yes, he did. Yeah. And he wanted the job. And then here's Phil Gardner telling everybody there's been no approach at that time. Like, he's on the charm offensive at the moment. He wouldn't talk to anybody for 2 weeks. No media. When all this was going on and was actually happening, he wouldn't talk to anybody. Since then, he's invited most journos up to talk to him. He invited James Hooper up there today to talk to him and insisted Brian Canavan, for reasons unknown, which was not part of the original agreement, sit there beside him during the interview. Look, there's a charm offensive here. Quayle and Badderas have walked away because they were left out of this discussion. That's the fact. Spin it any way you like. That's what he reminds me, Ben, of that other. I've got this ready for you, okay? That other knight who famously is in denial. All right, can we have a look? Can I show you?
Please,
Let's go. Let's have a look at it. This is the other.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then? Victory is mine. We thank thee, Lord, that in thy mercy...
Come on, then.
What?
Have at you!
Right!
Right, I'll do you for that.
You what?
All right, we'll call it a draw.
The Black Knight, Phil Gardner.
What are you attempting to say there?
It's just a flesh wound.